Section 8 of Sun, Moon, and Stars, Astronomy for Beginners. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Sun, Moon, and Stars, Astronomy for Beginners by Agnes Giberne. Little Servants. All are thy servants. Psalm 119, verse 91. If you walk out on any night after dark and watch the bright stars shining in a clear sky, shining as they have done for ages past, you will probably see now and then a bright point of light suddenly appear, dart along a little distance, and as suddenly vanish. That which you have seen was not the beginning of a story, but in 99 cases out of 100, it was the end of a story. The little shooting star was in existence long before you saw him, whirling through space with millions of little companions. But he has left them all and dropped to Earth. He is a shooting star no longer. If such a journey to the moon as the one described 2 chapters back were indeed possible, the voyage aloft would hardly be so easily and safely performed as is there taken for granted. Putting aside the thought of all other difficulties, such as lack of conveyance and lack of air, there would be the danger of passing through a very considerable storm of missiles, a kind of celestial cannonade, which, to say the least, would prove very far from agreeable. It will scarcely be believed what numbers of these shooting stars, or meteors, for they are not really stars at all, constantly fall to Earth. As she travels on her orbit, hurrying along at the rate of 19 miles each second, she meets them by tens of thousands. They too, like the Earth, are journeying round the great center of our family. But they are so tiny, and the Earth, by comparison, is so immense, that her strong attraction overpowers one after another, drags it from its pathway, and draws it to herself. And then it falls, flashing like a bright star across the sky, and the little meteor has come to his end. His myriads of companions, hastening still along their heavenly track, for the meteors seem to travel commonly in vast flocks or companies, might, had they had sense, mourn in vain for the lost members of their family. Anyone taking the trouble to watch carefully some portion of the sky after dark may expect to see each hour about 4 to 8 of these shooting stars, except in the months of August and November, when the number is much larger. About 6 in an hour does not sound a great deal, but that merely means that there have been 6 in one direction, and near enough for you to see. Somebody else watching may have seen 6 in another direction, and somebody else a few miles away may have seen 6 more. It is calculated that in the course of every 24 hours, over 20 millions of meteors fall to Earth large enough to be visible as shooting stars. This is rather startling. What if you or I should some day be struck by one or other of these little bodies, darting, as they do, towards the Earth with speed swifter than that of a cannonball? True, they are not really stars, neither are they really planets, but they must be at least often much larger than a cannonball, and a cannonball can destroy life, over 20 millions every 24 hours. Does it not seem singular that we do not see them constantly dropping to the ground? Doubtless we should see them, and feel them too, and dire would be the danger to human life, but for a certain protecting something folded round this earth of ours to ward off the peril. That something is the earth's atmosphere. But for the thick, soft air through which they have to pass, they would fall with violence, and perhaps would do much damage. As it is, we are guarded. The shooting star, caught by Earth's attraction, drops into her atmosphere, darting with extreme speed. The resistance of the air causes it to become intensely heated, till with a flash of light it vanishes into vapor. Meteors are believed to appear at a height of somewhere about 70 miles and to disappear at a height of about 50 miles. So that in one instant's flash, the shooting star has traveled some 20 miles towards us. Then the light goes out. The little meteor is done for. It falls to earth still, but only as fine dust, sinking harmlessly downward. Such small celestial bodies, thus traveling, do not always vanish so quickly. Now and again one actually reaches the ground, and if a man were struck by such a stone, he would undoubtedly be killed. A mason in France once had a narrow escape from such an accident. Bodies thus falling are called meteorites or aerolites. Some are found no bigger than a man's fist, while others much exceed this size. There is one, kept carefully in the British Museum, which weighs 3.5 tons, and we hear of another, lying in South America, between 7 and 8 feet in length. Such a sky visitant would be very unwelcome in an English or American town. We must remember that, whatever size an aerolite may be when it reaches the earth, it must have been far bigger when journeying round the sun, since part of it has been vaporized during its rush through the earth's atmosphere. Occasionally, meteors are seen of a much larger type, slower in movement and longer visible. These sometimes burst with a loud explosion. They are then often called bolides or fireballs. Early in the present century, a meteor visited Normandy. It exploded with a noise like the roll of musketry, scattering thousands of hot stones over a distance of several miles. Happily, no one seems to have been injured. Other such falls have taken place from time to time. Sometimes bright, slowly moving meteors have been seen looking as large as the moon. If we may liken comets to the fishes of the solar system, and in their number, their speed, their varying sizes, their diverse motions, they may be fairly so likened, we may perhaps speak of meteorites as the animalculae of the solar system. For in comparison with planets they are, in the matter of size, as the animalcula of our ponds in comparison with human beings. In point of numbers, they are countless. Take a single drop of water from some long stagnant pond and place it under a powerful microscope. You will find it to be full of life, teeming with tiny animals darting briskly to and fro. The drop of water is in itself a world of living creatures, though the naked eye of man could never discover their existence. So, too, with the meteors. There is good reason to believe that the solar system fairly teems with them. We talk of wide gaps of empty space between the planets. But how do we know that there is any such thing as empty space throughout all the sun's domain? Not only are the meteors themselves countless, a matter easily realized, but the families or systems of meteors appear to be countless also. They, like the systems of Jupiter and Saturn, are each a family within a family, a part of the solar system, and yet a complete system by themselves. Each circles round the sun, and each consists of millions of these tiny bodies. When I say tiny, I mean it, of course, only by comparison with other heavenly bodies. Many among them may possibly be hundreds of feet and even more in diameter, but the greater proportion appear to be much smaller. It is not impossible that multitudes beyond imagination exist, so small in size that it is impossible we should ever see them, since their dying flash in the upper regions of our atmosphere would be too faint to reach our sight. The Earth, traveling on her narrow orbit round the Sun, crosses the track of about 100 of these systems or rings. Sometimes she merely touches the edge of a ring, and sometimes she goes right into the very thick of a dense shower. Twice every year, for instance, on the 10th of August and the 11th of November, the Earth passes through such a ring, and very many falling stars may be seen on those nights. Numbers of little meteors, dragged from their orbits and entangled in the Earth's atmosphere, like a fly caught in a spider's web, give their dying flash and vanish. It used to be supposed that the August and November meteors belonged to one single system, but now they are believed to be two entirely distinct systems. Once in every 33 years, we have a grand display of meteors in November, tens of thousands being visible in one single night. The meteors in that ring have their year of 33 earthly years, and once in the course of that long year, our Earth's orbit carries her deep into their midst. In that single November ring, there are myriads upon myriads of meteors spreading through millions of miles of space. Yet this system is but one among many. There is no reason whatever to suppose that the streams of meteors cluster more thickly about the orbit of the Earth than in other parts of the solar system. No doubt the rest of the planets come across quite as many. Indeed, the wonderful rings of Saturn are probably formed entirely of meteors, millions upon millions of them, whirling round the planet in a regular orbit belt, lit up by rays of the sun. Also, it is believed that the meteor families cluster more and more closely in the near neighborhood of the sun, rushing wildly round him and falling by millions into the ocean of fire upon his surface. It has even been guessed that they may serve in part as fuel to keep up his intense heat. This we do not know with any certainty, but I have called these little bodies servants, for though we cannot yet say fully what is their precise use and purpose, we know that a use and purpose they must have. All are God's servants, whether great or little. There is a curious cone-shaped light seen sometimes in the west after sunset. It is called the zodiacal light, and men have often been much puzzled to account for it. The shining is soft and dim, only to be seen when the sky is clear, and only to be seen in the neighborhood of the sun. This, too, may be caused by the reflected light from countless myriads of meteors gathering thickly round the sun. End of chapter 8.